Thank you all very much for coming and giving up part of your day to join us. Shoshana, thank you very much for putting this together, and thank you to B&H for having us. What I want to do is I want to show you a little bit of the work that I do, and then I want to run through a series of demonstrations as to how we do some of these different lighting techniques. So for those of you that don't know what I do, I primarily make my living as a magazine photographer, although I do some corporate work as well. This came out of an assignment, and I described this image as just three guys sitting on a couch, unless you happen to be into old rock and roll and you know who they are. For those of you that don't, it's Keith Richards, Chuck Berry, and Leonard Cohen. That's a single strobe picture. And it was a moment. This is not really set up. I didn't say, hey guys, go sit on the couch, wait till I'm ready. It was just a moment. This is my favorite bartender. So, and again, it's a moment we're on the go. So let me show you this picture of Mr. Gates. This is a case where we get an assignment from a magazine to go photograph him. As you can imagine, you don't get a whole lot of time to do it. This is a single strobe picture. And in a couple of moments, I'm going to demonstrate the lighting on this picture. This we got about 12 frames off, which we will get assignments where you have a moment, a second. In a portrait session like this, you get a handful of frames, but the client is really expecting a great photograph, and you have to pull it off. So we'll show you this in a moment during the demo part. Anthony Hopkins shot for People magazine. Again, this is shot with one Dynalight. This was shot with the Rodemax kit, but one Dynalight head and a softbox that size, and a few seconds with Anthony Hopkins, and that's what you can come up with. So we get into the lighting, we're gonna go from very simple lighting to, by the end of this, which is why I'm not sure how much overall shooting time they're gonna be. At the end of this, that white backdrop is gonna be all different colors. And we're gonna show you how to go about projecting patterns and colors. This is John Updike. Again, this is a single strobe picture through a small softbox. In the case of this particular photograph, this is shot during an interview. I cannot control it. I cannot talk. I can't even make too many photographs, because if I make too many photographs and I annoy the reporters, they're not going to hire me again. So it's this balancing act of making the picture that your editor really likes and getting moments and not taking over, because you have zero control once this starts. So we're watching moments. I pick up the camera. The strobe appears about 30 degrees off from where I am. I make one frame and then fade into the woodwork. This is some kid at Harvard trying to get a date. I think he did okay. I think it worked out for the kid. They literally called me up and said, go take this picture of this kid, Mark Zuckerberg, at Harvard. Here's his phone number. Goodbye. But the challenge in this image is illuminating Zuckerberg and Chris Hughes. And I'll tell you, in something like this, when you're mixing strobe and ambient light, which unfortunately we're not going to be able to do during this, but just a bit of it, when you're mixing strobe and ambient light, I always say you start your exposure with the element you cannot control. The element I can't control is the ambient light. Well, those guys are reasonably in shade. So the challenge here was, how did we light them? And what we did is we took the strobe, put it in the corner behind the balustrade, took something, we use these a lot. This is a Sunbounce Micro Mini Reflector. And we just sort of stick something like this in the corner, put the light on the ground, and just bounce it off of this, and it illuminates them. This is the beginning of Google Glass. And here's a case where we're mixing ambient light, strobe, and have all sorts of reflective surfaces. So in this case, we have two elements we can't control. The two elements are the monitor in the background, and this is his computer monitor in his glasses. So we have to determine an exposure for those, and then from that we build the exposure with the strobes. This is sort of a halfway through a setup, but let me show you the final picture. So this is a case where we're mixing lots of different kinds of light. Keiko and I walk into this place at MIT, and there is, you can see this. This is a glass block periodic table on the wall. So you can see the main light is a Dynalight Uni which is kind of the predecessor to this one. This is the Baja. This is the newest one. So we use that, and we're actually running it off a battery. The beauty of the Baja, the battery is built in. And we've gotten about 1,000 shots out of ours without killing the battery. So you'll also notice, and again, we're going to demonstrate some of this. See the black foam core? There's the black foam core. If you're adding colors into your photograph and you hit the colors with white light, you blow your colors away. So that's why the foam core is there. So main light, battery operated, softbox, foam core. Okay, now I've lit my subject, okay, but I haven't lit the background, and that's what we're going for. So if you take a look at the light in the background, here's a Dynalight Road Max Power Pack. I've got 2 heads on it coming up, and there's a Roscoe yellow gel on one side and a blue gel here, and we said, oh, we need some uplight. Well, how are we going to get the uplight? We go grab a speed light, throw the red gel on it. Really important, if you're going to mix your speed lights and your studio strobes, it is essential that your strobes be on, your speed light be on manual. Don't have it on TTL. And when we're working with strobes, the camera is always on manual. If it's a speed light, the speed light may be on TTL, but the camera is always on manual. So if we take this combination, this is what we end up with. And this ended up being a magazine cover. So we shot this not too long ago. Actually, we shot this New Year's Day is when we shot this for SI of Rob Gronkowski from the Patriots. And we're talking about, well, can we get him in a gym? Because that's what the editor want. No, you can't. Just come to the stadium. And they go, oh, yeah, we got you a gym. OK, well, now we know what we're doing. That's the good news. The bad news is you have 15 minutes. Well, I know that I can't just give my editor one scenario. So what we did is we went in and pre-lit. And we lit this whole setup with him on the bench. We have 2 strip lights in the back because you have somebody who's really in good shape and you want to bring it out. Put a couple of strip lights in the back. And then the front light is a beauty dish. We actually, in this case, we used the Romero beauty dish. And we shot this, and we actually rehearsed it. So I said, you know, OK, when I go and tell Gronk I want him to go from here literally to here, you pick up one backlight and move it 3 feet. So it was actually choreographed ahead of time. And Gronk was like, fine, and then we get these shots in. And we write a blog. I'd like to say it's every week, but we don't do it every week. But every couple of weeks, we write a blog called Tuesday's Tips on Lighting. This is one of them. Anyway, so we went and I said to him, we had a blue backdrop up, and I said, now we need to do some portraits. And the PR guy's going, I go, that's OK, because the distance from this set to the portrait set was this, and this one was all lit. And then I went and I showed Gronk the pictures. And I'm a big fan of this. When I'm doing portraits, once I have a frame that I like, I'll go up to the subject and I'll show them the camera and I'll say, what do you think of the photograph that we are creating? And I always emphasize the we, because I can't create it without them. You know? So therefore, it's a collaboration. And once you include your subjects in the collaboration, all of a sudden you get a little more time, they're more animated, they want to look good, as opposed to, you know, a lot of shooters come in and go, OK, what do you do? All right, go stand over there and I'll take a picture. That's never my approach. I mean, my approach is always research your subjects to the nth degree. About a year ago, they came out with a new version of the Big Bang Theory. What happened a split second after the Big Bang? So this is one of the scientists. And he's the guy who actually runs the telescope. As I said earlier, you know, you start your exposure with the element you cannot control. Well, in this case, the element I can't control is out the roof. So that's where I start my exposure. It is slate gray out there. I mean, it's just an ugly gray day. No, it's not. It's kind of deep blue. As a magazine photographer, I have to do it in camera. I can't go to my computer afterwards and play with it. I mean, I can do levels and things like that. So how do we come up with this? What we did in this case, I'm going to show you, we did a trick called cross-filtering. It's really simple. You ever go out shooting and leave your camera on tungsten when you go outside? What happens? Goes bluer. Well, now I just turned my ugly gray sky into a deep blue sky. But this is what the whole set looks like when we arrive. Okay? So in order to go from that, it's very simple. We took one strobe and we stuck it behind the yellow part of the telescope and just left it. So now it's a daylight strobe. My camera's on tungsten. What happens to the strobe? It goes blue. Awesome. Now I have a blue dome. I got one more challenge, though. I need to light my scientist, and I kind of would like scientist-colored scientists, not blue scientists. So I'll show you a little trick that we do with Roscoe gels. So what we did first of all is we put the orange filter on a CTO, color temperature orange. Now my daylight strobe is color corrected for the camera set on tungsten. Okay? So now my scientist is going to be scientist colored. And except that, remember I said earlier, you don't want, if white light hits your colors, you blow it away. Well, the same thing here. So we take that cinefoil. So now, when I go to illuminate my subject, I'm color corrected and I'm hitting the subject. So this is the shoot for the cover of the lighting kit. Okay? And this is the space right next to my studio on the south end of Boston. And if you take a look at our lighting setup, so there's the final picture. That was the previous version of the lighting kit. What the good thing about this one, this fits in your camera bag a little better. But take a look at that image, all right? That's 2 lights. That's it. So there's the Dynalight Uni. Okay, battery-operated Dynalight. You'll notice what's wrapped around the end of that strobe so that the light hitting our model, okay, is only hitting the model. And you can see what time of day we're shooting. So we just took a big piece of cinefoil, wrapped it around. We actually softened it out. So after we made the snoot, and you just stuff a piece of cinefoil, crumple it up, stuff a piece of a tough spun in there. When the light comes out of the strobe, it bounces around. Bingo, comes out soft light. So that was the shoot, and that's your final result. That's 2 lights, 1 Dynalight and 1 speed light. So the whole background is 1 speed light. There's my piece of cinefoil. And I just tore pieces out of it and cut up gels and taped gels all over it. And that's what you end up with. This was kind of fun. We get this assignment. We'd photographed this professor, and we just took a Dynalight outside. This particular one we plugged in. This is the Roadmax one. Blew it through the doors. You can see the CTO gel on it, the Roscoe gel on it. This was fun. We were doing this workshop in London. So if you take a look at the smoke on our model, okay, and the blue gel, the key, if you're working with smoke, the key to coloring smoke and making smoke really stand out is backlight it. Take the light, and so the light on her is behind. So now we're going to do some live shooting. Hillary, would you come join us, please? Everybody, this is Hillary Button, who I've had the honor of working with many times. She's a wonderful model. I'm going to show you a couple of different things that we're going to do. We're going to start out with really simple lighting, okay? So I'm going to grab one Baja. You'll notice I don't have any cords. Okay, so this thing has a range of 6 stops. The current version goes in tenths of stops. We're going to get out my Sekonic meter, which I've pushed here. And we're going to talk about a couple of different kind of ways to fire strobes as well. So this is the dedicated transmitter for this strobe. Okay, I can have 6 strobes, and I can have each strobe on a different channel, and I can dial them up and down independently from the camera. Which, when you have your strobe up on a 20-foot light stand in a corner of a store, it's really nice to not have to go over and bring it down and adjust it. And it's really great when you're working with your subjects. You're working with a subject, your relationship, as I said earlier, is very important with them. If you're shooting and you have to walk away, we're having a nice time, we're chatting, and we're really getting along, and then I got to adjust my light, and then I go over here, and it's like, wait, I've lost contact. Being able to control it from the strobe is really important. So we're going to come up here and do a quick light test on this. This is my meter of choice. This is a Sekonic 478. It does all sorts of cool functions. Right now, we're just going to start getting meter readings. So we're going to press this and make sure we get the right setting. Hit my test button. It says she's going to glow in the dark. No, it says 4.0.3. So this is also reading intensive stops. That's about where I tend to shoot my portraits. I tend to like them 3.5 to 4. So maybe I'll knock a little power out of this thing. So I'm gonna, this one's on 1. So I'm just gonna come over, I'm gonna hit the button that says 1. I'm gonna hold it till it flashes. And then I'm gonna push this button here, volumes, and you can see I just knocked half a stop out of it. So let's see what we got. Yep. And I've got 2.8.5, which on my, I like shooting portraits with this Nikon macro lens. Let's see how we're doing.
There you go.
There it is. So it's kind of nice. One light, not a lot of effort. You can run in and get a nice portrait set up in a couple of seconds. Okay. Now that we know our lighting's right, now I can work with my subject and I can say, have some fun with this, you know. Go ahead, let's move for me just a little bit. That's nice. Let's do 1 or 2 more. Let's see what we're getting. Nice. Now take a look at the light on Hillary's face. It's got direction, yet it's wrapping around really nicely, okay? Got some nice drop off here, okay? Let's say we want to fill that drop off in a little bit. You have a, oh good, okay, so we're gonna grab, you know, maybe we'll reverse this out a little bit so people can see. And so we're gonna have you go this way a little bit. We'll just pick this up. I love not having cords to trip over because I'm really good at tripping over them. So this is, we're gonna bring this here, like that. And let me do one like this, okay? Because I think everybody can kind of see the monitors on the side. That looks about right. So you're gonna turn towards the light a little bit. That's nice. Let's see what we got. Take a look, we've got that drop off. Let's say we want to fill that drop off in. So we're going to take the sunbounce and hand me the round one too. So on this particular one, you know, I like the size of it. When you go to take this apart, the poles actually break to this point. So this one, by the way, when you go to open this, don't have it near your nose. It really hurts. I practiced and found out. So this is one we use a lot also. And unlike a lot of the other reflectors, this is really solid. And when you're buying reflectors, you know, there are cheaper ones, there's no doubt about it. But what you're buying is the coating. You know, I know, you're not necessarily just buying the white piece of fabric. And that's why I like these, that they're really reflective. I tend to use this one quite a bit, which is the silver and gold. If I want softer light, I'm just going to flip it over and go to the white side. I rarely use one that's all gold. So if you're using one that's all gold, it's going to really start to warm up the light, which for those of us from New England, you know, in March, it's really a nice thing to do. So what we're really going to do here with this is we're going to want to pick up some of this light and bounce it back. Okay? So that's going to go like that. And we're going to put this up, and the idea is to catch some of this light, okay, and bounce it back onto Hillary's face. Let's see. Are we ready? Let's turn a little bit towards the light, Hillary. That's awesome. A little bit of smile. Fantastic. Okay, so we've started to fill in the light. So it's bringing it even a little bit tighter. So with a couple of items that are quite portable, I've got a really nice studio setup. And I can take this anywhere, and I can put it up in a couple of minutes. And I can get it out in a couple of minutes. There it is. Okay, you see the difference in the light from where we started? We had a lot more shadow. Okay, we still have nice direction to the light, but we don't have a lot of shadows. And again, I'm finding when I do these corporate shoots, they want really nice portraits, but they want us to get in and out in a couple of minutes, okay? So we'll go in and we'll do a setup like this, and to even it out, sometimes I'll take a smaller softbox and actually put it right above me. So there's still a little bit of direction to the light, but there's nothing that, you know, they're going to object to in terms of too much shadow. All right, so let's kind of bring this guy around, back around this way. Fantastic. You're doing great, Hillary. Thanks so much for coming all this way. Fantastic. We're going to grab our transmitter. Excuse me. Okay, that's 4. That's pretty good. Let's see what our hairline's going to do. Oh, 11. Thinking that's a bit much. I think I may want to bring it down about half a stop. Bit of a smile there, Hillary. That's great. Loving it. It's a little hot. Let's tone it down a little bit. So just remember that I don't have to get up and go over there. I can like hang out and be lazy and not have to walk all that way. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. And there's lots of ways you can place hairline. We want to bring out some warm highlights in Hillary's hair. So we've taken a CTO filter, and we're going to tape it over right over the front of that grid. And let's see what we're going to do. Okay, you can see we've started to pick up some warm light. Okay, that's kind of nice. I think we'll pull that light back just a little bit. So without a lot of effort, you know, we're building a portrait that's very, very portable. Let's try a little more. So that's kind of nice. So let me show you some other things that we can do, okay? We're going to do a quick switch out of equipment here and show you how you're going to mix two different lighting systems. So we're just going to take this and bring it around. Okay, so let's sort of start to get this set up. So I put this about here. The trick with this is you want to have the light so you can almost see it over the subject's head, but not quite. Okay, so we're going to tone this guy down a bit. Well, we could use our tough spun trick. Okay. There, stick that in there. Let's see what we're going to get now. So let's see what we come up with. Okay, we're starting to get some nice hairline light. See it coming around? So I'm going to pull that light back just a little bit and get some more hairline light out of that. Oh, you need to go this way? Right there. And the reason I say that, okay, I could see the strobe behind her, so we don't want to see the strobe. Let's turn this strobe up a little bit. Beautiful. There, see now it's starting to spread out more? How it's coming around? Okay, so now I'm going to pull that out completely. Okay, shorten my snoot up a bit, and let's see what we can do. Lovely, my dear. Got a little more power out of it. Shorten the snoot. Of what color should we make Hillary's hair? Purple, anyone? Let's try to see how that's going to work out. Love it. Isn't that cool? Okay, so now let's take your hands and bring them into your hair. And give me one more. There, let's try that. There. So we could take that and put it up overhead. There's all sorts of different things we can do with this. Let's start to control how much light is hitting the background. Okay? So I think one of the ways we're going to start is we're going to jump from this softbox, and we're going to go to a grid. So we're just going to get this guy out of the way. So by doing this, okay, I've now got a lot more control. My light's going to be very different, but I've got a lot more control over where it's going. So we're just going to turn this guy on. Because I've got the model light, look at the background. So I can really see, okay, where the light's hitting. So obviously if I do this, I'm throwing it onto the background. If I do this, I'm throwing it less onto the background. And let's see what we're going to come up with now. Our goal is to get the backdrop a little bit darker. So if you look at this one compared, whoops, I got more of a shadow, I wanted less. If you look at these, though, because we're controlling where the light is going, our backdrop is now getting darker. Okay? I'm going to start projecting patterns shortly. That's why I want the backdrop darker. So this is going to eat about a stop of light. Beautiful. So that's pretty cool light. That's really looking great. Okay? So I think I want to still get more light off that background. So let's take a look at it. Well, a couple of things. Maybe I want to fill in the side of Hillary's face a little bit. I think we'll do that. And we're going to put our reflector right back in. All righty. So we're going to bring this in right there. Is that looking right from your side, folks? We want light hitting here and then bouncing back onto Hillary's face. That's cool. That's really like Texas looking hair. Okay? So we have filled in now. Okay? We filled in the side of Hillary's face just by doing this. So we're going to pull this out. Do you know the reason why photographers all wear black? There's an actual reason. You don't reflect. okay? So if I'm wearing a white shirt and there's a window, I'm going to reflect in the window. If I'm dressed all in black, I'm not going to reflect. So basically what I've done, and I'm not doing a very good job of putting this one together, there we go, is I'm narrowing down the beam of light. And I could go to a narrower grid. So we're going to have you turn slightly to the light, Hillary. Fantastic. There, so that's looking a little hot to me. Go this way, please. Just lean a little bit. That's nice. Right there. And come towards me a little bit. Lean towards me. Yeah, that's nice. So, you know, one thing with colors, if you're working with colors, if you want your colors more intense, underexpose them. Okay? It's like when you shoot a sky, if you want the sky more intense, underexpose it. Exact same thing working with colors. Okay. Should we jump into projections? So again, the key, we've darkened our background down pretty good. Even though it's white, it's not looking white there. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with the distance from this to this. This is what's going to project the pattern. Another good habit to get into, by the way, when you're hanging stuff off light stands, put it over one of the legs. Light stand's much more likely to tip this way than it is to tip this way. Okay? So now we're starting to get patterns. Okay? Now, how far away this very fancy setup is from this light is going to determine how hard the edge is. So let's move it out. So now let's pull it in tighter and see if we get a harder edge. Now, there are all sorts of things you can do with this. All right, so we're going to bring you up. You're going to be about here, okay? We're going to, yeah, we're going to do, I'm going to put the hairline light back as well. But let's start with this. And we may need to grid this off a little bit more, but let's see what happens. There we go. Let's see what we're getting. 4.7. Ooh, I bet that's may want a little, well, leave it where it is for the moment. Let's give it a test. This is not an exact science. Okay, so now we've got sort of an interesting background out of a plain white background. All right, so now let's sort of add, let's play around with the adjustments. Change the colors a little bit. That's looking good. So I think we ought to add some more colors back to her hair, though. Here we go. Fantastic. So now we're starting to come up with some interesting things. We like this. This is kind of fun. I think she needs an ocean behind her. Okay. You have ocean color gel? Yes. We need ocean effect gel. That way, my dear. So when I ask you to move, okay, what I'm really doing is I can see a tiny bit of the strobe behind her. So if I see the strobe behind her, it's going to glare back. Well, that's looking cool. That's looking very cool. Let's try it one more time. And then I think we'll try adjusting the distance from the strobe to the grid. Okay. But that's, you know, boring white background, and that's what you end up with. So let's adjust this out a little bit. Now, if you are doing this and you find that you're getting white light hitting your background, one of the things that we'll use a lot is this. We'll just take some black foam core, okay? And if I've got too much white light hitting the background, okay? Okay, so now, if we take a look at the light on the background, let's watch that backdrop here. See that? Well, I want the, whoops. I want the light hitting Hillary. So let me just see if I don't know if you can see this. Watch the background. I'm actually going to pull the grid so you can see it even more. Okay, so now light hitting background. Okay. Light is still hitting Hillary's face, but I've taken it away from the background. So all I have to do is hang it from a gobo or from anything. that you have. Tape it to a light stand. Good, inexpensive way to do it. We use a fair amount of foam core. There we go. Right there. Right there. Let's see what we're getting. So, you know, we started this a little while ago with a very simple photograph. Fast, simple photograph. And we've now progressed to a fairly complicated photograph. Let's see what you're doing. And this way for me, please. That's great. Yeah, like that. Turn your head that way. That's good. Let's see if this technique worked. There. Very different look there. Okay? Now we have a little bit of ambient light hitting the background. And that's why we've lost some of it here. So that needs to be adjusted. So let's go. No, this actually needs to come up higher. Yeah, we can go back to that too. Bring it up a little bit higher. Yeah. So we're going to run a little bit more. I want to run over some equipment with you and then take any questions that you have. So, and if you want to actually come do this, come join us at one of the lighting workshops. You bring a camera and a lens and hopefully your own flash, and I bring all the rest of the toys. So here we go. Right there, my dear. No eating your hair during the shoot. Fantastic. Thank you. You can, if I'm looking at it now, the snoot is out so far that there's actually a line coming right across Hillary's neck. So I want to open that up a little bit or pull this back. And of course, the beauty of working with this stuff is I can make my snoot any shape I want. There we go. That's scary, isn't it? That way, please, Hillary. Fantastic. Thank you. It's kind of nice. Isn't it? Look at the background. Boring white background, one blue gel, some cinefoil, and somebody with artistic sense who can make the background. But it's a way to make something out of really not much. So now we've gone back to the drop-off. If we want to take that out, let's fill that in just a little bit. There's a lot of this on the shoots of exactly how we planned it. There you go, Silly. Let's see what we're getting. Oh, I filled it in. There we go. I filled it in some. So I think we need to, oh, well, somebody moved the snoot. Nice. There. So we started to fill it in, okay? And if we want to fill in the shadows, we can. If we want to jump back to the softbox, we can easily do that. You want to switch these out and show them that? Okay. Want to do a totally different kind of lighting, but just a minor switch. So this is pretty important now that this is going to prevent the light from hitting the background. Because if we don't have this, we're going to blow white light on the background, and that'll be the end of that awesome pattern. And I'm going to need to switch the batteries. By the way, if you're shooting tethered, you'll find that you go through batteries much faster than you ever do. So especially, you know, if you have a client there, make sure you have another battery handy. Lean this way just an inch. Right, and then let's turn your head towards the light. A little more. That's beautiful. So look at the difference in our light. Our light is totally different. This is a much softer look. But we do have a little bit of white light hitting the background. So let's bring this around a little bit more. Let's see how many light stands I can trip on. Turn slightly towards the light for me, Hillary. That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. There you go. So we've knocked off some light from the background. Our background becomes more intense. So I'm actually going to come off my tripod for a couple. Let me just shoot a couple like this. Just work with me, Hillary, so people can see it. Fantastic. Nice. Right there. Let's see what we're getting. And then I want to go to a wider lens to shoot this. So we're getting beautiful light. We're controlling where it's going. And we've made a boring background rather interesting. And basically, our light on her is one softbox. That way, please. Just slightly. There. Fantastic. Let's see what we get. Let's see if you're a redhead now. We're getting there. So it's interesting, we got a little bit of spill, you know. And we were playing around with this the other day, and if we wanted a little red on the background, if I take this cine foil and open it up just a little bit, you'll start to get some light spill. So you can actually use this to blow the light back. We found, you know, that in some situations that the backlight was bouncing off the softbox, that was throwing colored light. So we were using things for reflectors that we never intended to use for reflectors. So, that way, please. A little more, bring your body that way, please. Thank you. Okay, I think we're pretty much out of time. If there's any other questions I can answer for you, I'm more than happy to do it. And I thank you all very much for joining us. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.